Good afternoon? Yeah, good afternoon and welcome to The Paper Thing with me, the Broken Bottle Boy, here on Twitch. Today's show is a four-paper show, so it's the Times, the Telegraph, the Sun and the Daily Mail. We will be not doing it in that order, though. We will be going Telegraph, Sun, Times, Daily Mail. Daily Mail always our final one. I do know that there is at least one coin story in today's papers, so good news for coin fans. Telegraph, Sun, Times, Daily Mail. There we go. I need to do the blind because it is making the side of my face stick out too much. That's better. Hey, Chronotherm. Hey, Makusho. How are you doing? Good to see you. I am back. Yes, back. Hey, Markinosis. How's it going? We're going to start with the Telegraph today. We'll start with the Telegraph today and move on to the Sun, the Times, and the Mail in that order. Good to see you all. Let's see who else is rocked up. Hello also to another TT viewer, Carbot14XYZ, and Discord for streamers. Right, so, starting off with the Telegraph. Front page of the Telegraph has, at the top of the shop, Bryony Gordon meeting Hunter Biden. She is talking to him about his book, and she got him on her podcast. Yeah, that's right, Chronothan. We end for the necessary Fred Bassett bouts with the Mail. Good afternoon, Iodi Stomach Pump. Good to see you. Main story is Europe to welcome tourists for summer. This one's been briefed into other newspapers too, although, of course, the Telegraph frames it as if it's an exclusive. There's a picture of a little boy baffled by Boris Johnson, and Johnson's doing the stupid elbow thing that only politicians seem to do. Second biggest story on the page, £1 billion deal sets Britain on path to free trade pact with India. That £1 billion figure is, of course, the government's own figure, and it marks its own work, so I'm suspicious about that. Good afternoon to you, Industrial Pet. Good to see you. Moving down the page, we come to former MI6 spy produced a second Trump dossier for the FBI. This is sources have told the Telegraph, allegedly, that Christopher Steele, the former MI6 spy who produced the notorious PISS dossier about Trump, did a second dossier that was made during the Trump presidency. And in the small stories at the bottom, good news today that mothers' names will now appear on marriage certificates. Can't believe it took till 2021 for that to happen. They trail an interview with the actor who played Ian Buckles in Line of Duty. Dominic Raab has dampened hopes of the imminent release of Nazanin Zaghari Ratcliffe, a imprisonment that would not have lasted as long if it were not for former Foreign Secretary, now Prime Minister Boris Johnson, who got her in a lot more trouble with the Iranians. Man United fans, the fans that protested on the pitch over the weekend, have said that they will do further protests unless their protests are heeded. Markinosis, yes, the PISS dossier to be followed by the shit dossier. And in the and a story from the business section, OneWeb satellites may provide British GPS. I'm dubious about this, and it's a very anonymous briefing coming out saying that OneWeb is exploring whether a new generation of its satellites could support a space-based navigation system that could provide accurate signals for military and critical infrastructure. We shouldn't have left Galileo. That was dumb fucking shit. Right, moving on. Inside, BBC's Mitford drama given raunchy twist. First photograph from Pursuit of Love shows writer Emily Mortimer has added modern punk spirit. The first photograph from the BBC's new lavish costume drama shows it's all drama and very little costume. The three-part serial, which begins screening on Sunday in the slot vacated by Line of Duty, takes the much-loved novel and sexes it up considerably. Typical Telegraph thing here of pretending that it isn't going to watch every moment of it. Mortimer, who wrote the screenplay, directed it, and also stars, has confessed to inserting a scene in which Linda Radlett, the heroine, played by Lily James, tells her best friend and cousin Fanny Logan, played by Emily Beecham, that she has become sexually aroused by a small painting of Lady Jane Grey. No such scene exists in the novel, although Nancy Mitford did once make such an admission in a letter to Evelyn Waugh. Well, there you go. Fine. Line of Duty to return despite viewers' backlash over cop-out. I mean, backlash. There's some disappointment, wasn't there? There's a ridiculous picture of Sadiq Khan and Keir Starmer looking at some vegetables. Supply your own captions. Hi. Tory staff angered by bill for PM's flat revamp. Officials furious over costly revamp after they were told there were no cash to splash on pay rises. Parliament's old vellum records are to be rehoused. The race has begun to save 500-year-old vellum rolls bearing Britain's laws from fire and floods as Parliament's original acts are rehoused. At the Westminster Estate, workers are packing up 64,000 pieces of legislation, ready to move them to new premises where they will be safer and easier for academics and the public to access. There is an op-ed provided by Liz Pork Markets Truss. She claims our enhanced trading relationship with India will secure valuable jobs. Don't believe it. Comrade Wolfie, he's called Keith, Mick, for fuck's sake. Yes, of course, Sir Keith Starmer. Hartlepool coup is on the cards because Johnson listens to voters, is the claim from Danielle Sheridan, the Telegraph's political correspondent. I think it's because Keith Starmer doesn't know how to find his dick with both hands. Single death from COVID recorded in new data. Of course, the Daily Mail and the Telegraph now pushing very hard that because there was only one death, that proves there's no need for restrictions at all. Prince Harry got a very riotous reception at the Vax Live concert on Sunday in Los Angeles. He received a standing ovation as he pleaded for vaccines to be distributed to everyone everywhere at the star-studded concert. Of course, expect Telegraph comment writers to find a way to make that a negative. Massive slab of transphobia on page 9 with a story headlined "Transgender Campaigners Have Too Much Say on Hate Crime Laws." Of course, this whole thing about the trans lobby is a really interesting thing because it's the word lobby implies a well-funded, well-organised, well-connected group, and it's just simply not the case. Education chiefs accused of washing their hands of Batley. Teacher Camilla Turner, the education editor, writes, the government has washed its hands of the Batley grammar school teacher who was suspended after showing pictures of the Prophet Muhammad in class, it's been claimed. Ministers are not doing enough to ensure that Batley Multi-Academy Trust's investigation is not unduly influenced by local imams, according to the National Secular Society. Right, okay, so what, they need to make sure that they unduly influence the investigation, is that it? Comrade Wolfie, Labour is going to lose Hartlepool because everyone in Hartlepool is still mad that Corbyn replaced the local football club with a pro-Hamas mosque. Yeah, Corbyn won Hartlepool twice. We need more satellites. There's plenty of space up there, says Chronotherm. The price of gender recognition certificates is going to be reduced to £5 from £140. Can't see that that's a bad thing. Of course, the Telegraph implies it is. Yeah, that's it. Mosques shut out women to make more space for men. Mosques across Britain are not allowing women inside to pray during the holy month of Ramadan, an investigation has found. In a survey of 29 of the biggest mosques in the UK, more than a fifth admitted to barring women, citing COVID restrictions as the reason. More than a quarter of British mosques did not have space for women at all, the BBC also discovered. Okay, what was the reason for doing this? In the mosques that do cater for both men and women, the spaces are not always the same size. Anita Nayar, who runs Open My Mosque to campaign for more inclusive mosques, said that women often got second-class areas. Right, okay. This is the weird colour. Like, I think it's an interesting story. I'm suspicious as ever of the Telegraph's line on it. Payout for ex-pilot over cking cancelling. MOD agrees deal with former servicemen who blame toxic helicopter fumes for serious illness. Flight Sergeant Zach Stubbings, 42, was diagnosed with multiple myeloma, having spent years flying the now retired aircraft, where it is believed he inhaled toxic exhaust fumes. Last month, Mr. Stubbings, who served with the RAF for 15 years, won a settlement from the MOD after a 6-year legal battle. He was paid an undisclosed sum and claims the government was aware of concerns regarding the aircraft's exhaust since 1999. It was retired in 2016. Stubbings from Cardiff told The Sun the government chose to ignore it. It's a scandal. I would not be surprised if they did. Good afternoon, Guybrush. Tweet good. Good to see you. Macron centrist impact with right-wing rival for local poll. Emmanuel Macron centrist. I mean, he's pretty right-wing himself. Will team up with a right-wing rival for a bellwether regional national French election next month in the latest sign that the president has failed to build up a compelling political force at the local level. Jean Castex, the prime minister, told the Journal du Dimanche newspaper that En Marche would withdraw its candidates for the southern city of Marseille and the surrounding region. Instead, they will line up behind Renard Muselier, a veteran force in an area where the far right is hoping to make inroads before the presidential elections next year. Polls suggest that Marine Le Pen, who leads the hard-right National Rally Party, would tie with or beat the pro-EU Mr. Macron. Notice how the Telegraph always makes it about Brexit. Mr. Macron is predicted to win in the second round by 54% to 46%, but that is narrower than the 66.1% to 34.6% defeat Miss Le Pen suffered 4 years ago. The move divided Mr. Musilier's fellow Republicans, whose leadership swiftly denounced a deal that could jeopardize the party's performance in the regional elections set for the 20th and 27th of June. Manuel Pétain did nothing wrong, Macron. Exactly. Be plausible if they considered the mosque with synagogues and churches. Yeah. In Haifa, in Israel, boars have overrun the city, writes James Rothwell. As darkness falls on the port city of Haifa and its residents snooze in the oppressive April heat, the wild boar begin their nightly orgies of mischief. I am pro-boar in this case. With near military precision, bad writing, their snouts seek out the aroma of discarded pizza, stealing into a public garden for a nighttime feast. Others tear into unguarded rubbish bins, gorging themselves on half-eaten takeaways, while some even take the liberty of bathing in swimming pools. If there is such a place as Boar Heaven, it probably looks a lot like Haifa, the city the third largest in Israel, nestled in a vast network of ravines and forests, making it an ideal habitat for the animals. Yael Olek, an ecologist for the Haifa municipality, says is like a buffet for them. We tried to hunt them for 12 years, though it did not reduce their numbers. And we have also placed chains on bins, as they used to knock down the bins to get the food out. The most recent study on boar numbers in Haifa from 2019 reported 1,328 sightings, a 40% increase from 2015. The pictures are great. I like it. In the comments section, Melanie McDonough says, desperate Brits will do anything for even a bracing seaside holiday. Oh, fuck off. Sherelle Jacobs, Mad Eye Sherelle Jacobs says, Boris Johnson must face up to the worst case scenario for the Union. The possibility of defeat should loom large as the PM ponders how best to fight for the UK's future. Mark Almond, not that one, says Iran needs to know that the West has limits. Securing Nazanin's release is vital, but Britain must be wary of encouraging Biden to soften his stance further. More wars, says the Telegraph. And Charles Moore says the doctrine of net zero makes mugs of us all. Oh, fuck off. Also, he writes about Northern Ireland with his usual fuckwittedness. Chronotherm. Israel spends billions on its army, but it can't hunt pigs. Studying Fangirl. The Technion is overrun with them. Are these hogs feral? Studying Fangirl. The army is kept together by God's will alone, I assure you. Feature and arts. My family never let me disappear into the abyss. I'm so lucky for that, says Hunter Biden, talking to Bryony Gordon about the loss that led him to drink and drug addiction and how his father never gave up on him. It's sort of a fine feature, to be honest. Hello, Get Station. Good to see you. From Billie Eilish's pin-up look to hiding lockdown weight gain, is there anything a good bodice can't do? Asked Sharon Walker. Yes. And Simon Mills writes about girdles. So there you go. Celia Walden, who is of course married to Piers Morgan, says ticking box now matters more than the truth. This time last month, Prince William was preparing to praise the British Academy of Film and Television Arts for its diversity. I say preparing, but the speech he was due to deliver to an audience of 1.9 million viewers would have already been pre-recorded. And having criticised the body's lack of diversity last year when BAFTA put forward all-white shortlists for all major acting categories, one imagines that the Duke of Cambridge's address would have been impassioned, even celebratory. That segment wasn't broadcast as planned. That the segment wasn't broadcast as planned was down to the Duke of Edinburgh's death 2 days before the April 11th ceremony, and not the brewing scandal BAFTA had been aware of 2 weeks earlier involving one of the preeminent Black Award winners, Noel Clarke, who received his second gong for outstanding British contribution to cinema last month. Noel Clarke's alleged behaviour, is nothing to do with his race, but of course Celia Walden will connect it to diversity, as these papers do. They're trying to sell hearing aids. Suzanne Moore says the new working world is a luxury not all can afford. Yeah, whatever. What your child really needs now? Resilience. After the toll of the past year, Kate Silverton, author of a new parenting book, basically, if you've ever been a TV presenter, you can write a parenting book, says empathy and boundaries will see them thrive. Yeah, but who doesn't already fucking know that? Colin Gleadle, in the art market focus, writes female artists are in the ascendant. Says writes about the tragic Scottish prodigy who brought working class lives into high-end galleries. That is Joan Erdley. And in the interview, Chris Benyon talks to Nigel Boyle, who played Ian Buckles in Line of Duty. And the Cheltenham Jazz Festival online gets a 4-star review. Mark Kanosis' Psytrance scene is largely made up of young Israelis after their military service. Yeah, in places like Goa. Yeah. In the obits, Comrade Wolfie says Suzanne Moore can fuck off. Dan Jones says fuck off with the R word. R word. Race. In the obituaries, Jason Matthews, CIA officer who, after a career in the field, wrote highly realistic spy novels, including Red Sparrow. Jason Matthews, who's died in California, age 60. Oh, raves. Resilience. Oh, right. I was like, it's bullshit, isn't it? Raves. Okay, so Jason Matthews. While critics praise Matthews' handling of the traditional elements of the genre, sex and guns and Soviet bloc molds, they were particularly intrigued by his depiction of the day-to-day business of modern espionage, which was rendered with unusual verisimilitude. I hate that word, it's a very hard one to read. In the first scene in the novel, CIA officer Nate Nash spends 12 hours moving about Moscow to assure he's eluded all the surveillance before he meets a covert source late at night. As became clear, Matthews had extensive experience of doing the same, having pounded pavements from Istanbul to Hong Kong after joining the agency in 1976. Intending to become a journalist, he'd found himself being interviewed, grey little office, grey little man, by what proved to be the CIA. It was interested in his Greek descent and ability to speak the language, and he was posted on a State Department cover to Athens. There he met Suzanne Moran, who was also with the CIA. The two were married in 1979 and became one of the agency's few tandem couples working in harness together. After scoring a significant coup by recruiting a foreign source, Matthews came to specialise in internal operations, running agents in countries where there was continuous hostile surveillance. Although he would not confirm that he'd been stationed in places such as Belgrade and Budapest, he acknowledged that he was familiar with them. He also worked in Asia and against Cuba. Matthews and his wife would retrieve messages from dead drops and make brush passes of intelligence, the latter sometimes while pushing her children's pram. Once Matthews narrowly avoided an ambush at a meet, and his name was also found on a terrorist organisation's hit list. During the Kosovo conflict of 1999, Western spy agencies monitored the whereabouts of arms accumulated during the civil wars in Yugoslavia. Family had to leave their home in the Balkans hurriedly before it burned down. It was their daughter's 8th birthday. Nevertheless, Matthew pointed out, we're not choir boys, and had few regrets about the work he had undertaken and the untruths he had told in American interests. He subsequently became head of internal operations, but working in counter-proliferation, seeking to disrupt supply of nuclear and biological material. By then, he and his wife had told their 2 daughters what they really did at work following a trip to see the film Spy Kids. Thank you for subscribing again, SK. Much appreciated. Comrade Wolfie, having lived in Moscow, it's not that hard to avoid the particularly unintelligent FSB Moscow police, considering they mostly are massive shave-headed dudes in blacked-out mercs. Jason Matthews, his father was a banker and invented a method for quick freezing pies. He studied French and Spanish at Washington University and then journalism at the University of Missouri. He wrote 2 sequels to Red Sparrow, Palace of Treason, which dealt with Iran's nuclear program, and the Kremlin's Candidate. This featured an assassination plan by the Russian president. Matthews enjoyed cooking recipes bookend the chapters in Red Spring. As Red Sparrow, and he retired to Palm Springs. Latterly, however, he had been suffering from neurodegenerative disease. His wife and daughter survive him. He was born 1951, so 69 years old. Not nice, I guess. The Kremlin, a method for quick freezing pies. I know there's more to be said in that there. Elsewhere in the obits, Ferdun Duck Mehta, Indian officer who flew wartime artillery observation missions in support of the 14th Army. Brigadier Ferdun Duck Mehta died on his 101st birthday, was believed to have been the only Indian officer to fly with the British Air Observation Post Squadron in the Second World War. In the early morning of March 21st, 1944, Mehta took off during dawn to locate Japanese gun positions in the Shan Hills deep in the Burma jungle. He had descended to 300 foot when he heard a loud crack. Something hit his head and the cockpit was sprayed with a red liquid. An artillery observer on the ground urged him over the radio to gain height as the whole Japanese position had opened fire on him. He landed at a nearby airstrip where he found that his Auster had taken a battering. Fabric was riddled with holes and one of the main wing spars was fractured. A bullet had come through the right side of the cockpit, ricocheted into the first aid box, broken the mercurochrome bottle of antiseptic and gone through his cap, taking with it the lining and some of his hair. Ferdinand Mehta, the son of a major who served in the Royal Indian Medical Service in the First World War, was born in Bombay, now Mumbai, on March 3rd, 1920. He went to school locally until 1933 when he began training for the Merchant Marine on Dufferin, a former auxiliary cruiser. Age 16, he passed out with a first-class award. Always known as Duck because of his association with Bombay. Right, so slightly racist. During the Second World War, he served in various regimental units, including 659 AOP Squadron RAF in India. He was the only Indian officer learning to fly, and during his initial training, the Maharaja of Jodhpur threw open his palace for the training school staff and students, who were lavishly accommodated and entertained in some style every Saturday night. He was a devout Zoroastrian Parsi, and one of his last wishes was to be honoured at his funeral when a bugler from his old regiment, 9 Parachute Field Regiment, played the last post. He married in 1960 in Bombay. His wife died in 2020, and he is survived by son and daughter. And the last obit of the day in the Telegraph, Eric McGraw, creative reformer who founded the Prisoner's Paper Inside Time, which is now read by tens of thousands. He was 76 years old, and he set up Inside Time in 1990 as a free newspaper that gave prisoners a voice. With typical McGraw mischief, he called the paper Time until legal action was threatened. Print run of 12,000 needed plenty of sticky tape to hold page layouts together and the help of the print shop manager of HMP Kingston in Portsmouth. McGraw was director of the prisoner befriending charity Newbridge, and the idea of a paper for prisoners to air concerns came to him while attending sessions of the Wolf Inquiry into the Strange Ways riots. Mark Gnosis' Inside Time is great. Tell us about it, Mark. Most people, I guess, on the stream won't be familiar with what it's like. Has the worst poetry page ever. That I can well imagine. In the radio review, Charlotte Runcie says the Today programme is shit at the moment. Yeah, it is, but not for the reason she thinks. She thinks it's too harsh on politicians. I think it's not harsh enough. But she likes Woman's Hour. Surprise, surprise. Woman's Hour, which has now been restored to an hour, being freed of the 15-minute drama. In the TV recommendations, The Violence Paradox, 2-part PBS documentary featuring Steven Pinker. No, thank you. But anyway, that's on at BBC 4, 9 p.m. and 9:55 p.m. However, what I do want to watch is Star Wars The Bad Batch on Disney Plus from today, which I think Kid in the Room will also enjoy. Comrade Wolfie, Strange Ways Here We Come is the best Smiths album. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk. It's between that and Queen is Dead, I would say. Is that noted friend of Jeffrey Epstein, Stephen Pinker? Why, yes, it is. Anyway, that was the Telegraph. Give me your scores, and I will do the roll call. In the chat today, I am of course a Broken Bottle Boy. You can follow me on Twitter at Broken Bottle Boy and on TikTok at Useless Conquest. The newsletter today, due to a Substack glitch, ended up only going out to paid subscribers, which was not my intention. So if you didn't receive it in your email today, but do want to read it, and I'd appreciate it if you do go to brokenbottleboy.substack.com. Mark Kenosis' Best Smiths album is in my copy of Hatful of Hollow that belonged to a murder victim. Jesus. Dan Jones, 3142. Johnny Marr, Adrenaline Baby Live is the Best Smiths album because Morrissey gets no royalties. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk. Standard Fishy Affair, says Yuan. -90 for the Telegraph because I really love those boars, says Mark Kenosis. Right. Sorry, continuing the roll call. In the mod squad, we have the ever excellent Guybrush, Tweet Good, and SK the Crusader. Looking forward to his streams this week, particularly the YouTube zone, and yeah, looking good. I enjoyed the streams last week. If you've not caught those, do go to his page and watch the VODs. And on that note, if you want to catch up on any of the previous episodes of Season 4 of TPT, they are all now on YouTube. And frankly, if you can help me out and go on there and even just put someone in the background, get the view counts up, that'd be amazing. I'll drop the link in the Discord. And on that note as well, if you're not in the Discord, and I'm trying to get the level of chat and general activity in the Discord up, let me drop the link for the Discord in the chat now. Mercutio UK, the coin ones are my favourite. Well, yeah, appreciate that. Well, hopefully there will be more coin stories today. In fact, I know there's at least one. Okay, so also in the chat today, another TT viewer, Carbot14XYZ, Commander Root, Community for small streamers, Comrade Wolfie, Dan Jones, 3142, Discord for streamers, Dubhane, hey Dubhane, Ged Station, Gurley, Industrial Pet, Chronotherm, Mark Kenosis, Mercutio UK, Mogshed, Studying Fangirl, Yodi, Stomach Pump, and the fantastic Fishmonger General Yuan. Right, so now we're going to move on to the Sun. Really getting down in the gutter. Front page of the Sun is Barrymore, Justice at Last. We've seen this one a few times in the past, and that justice has not yet arrived. This is, of course, the 20-year-old case of the death of Stuart Lubbock, who was found dead in Michael Barrymore's pool after a party. This is exclusive from Rob Patterson, who's been given this by the police. Now, I'm thinking of doing something in the newsletter about this soon, but this stuff, stories like this, where papers like The Sun are briefed on forthcoming police actions, that was meant to be covered by Leveson 2. That never happened. The close relationship between police and press. Yeah, that was shit canned. Would I be correct in thinking Barrymore is not the suspect? That is correct, Mark Kenosis. The full text of the front page story, very small square, as you can see there, reads, police are ready to charge a suspect over Stuart Lubbock's death at Michael Barrymore's home 20 years ago. They will send a file to prosecutors after a man 50 was held on suspicion of murder. Stuart, 31, was found dead in the 68-year-old TV star's pool in Essex. Elsewhere on that front page, Leanne from Little Mix says racism ruined her time in the band. The Prime Minister has hinted once again that all social distancing will be ended in June. And of course, they're still trying to give away tickets to Legoland. Mark Kenosis, yeah, absolutely right. The presence of the Barrymore story in 90s noughties tabloids was engineered by Max Clifford. Good afternoon, Red Tick Seed. Pleasure to see you. Hope you're well. Right, so let's get into this. On page 3, there isn't page 3, but is page 3, Mate Peroni, she's a 38-year-old Mexican singer and actress whose profile is going to be boosted by her lead role in the Netflix drama Dark Desire, has worn a bikini, right? Also on page 3, massive honker, giant plonker. Men with big noses do have larger willies, scientists say. Willies. The Sun is written by adults. So if your nose is 2.2 inches, there's a correlation that your penis could be 5 inches or larger. If your nose is 1.9 inches, the average size is 4.5. And if your nose is 1.7 inches long, the average size is 4 inches, according to this research. But it only says they can be about 30% bigger than guys with tiny conks. Right, so they say there's a theory here, which is that key hormones called androgens in the womb might be higher. It might have been higher in men who have larger noses. Experts in Kyoto, Japan, studied 126 men, so it's not really not a particularly large group to analyze. Yeah, cock phrenology, exactly. Guybrush Threepwood. So yeah, this research. And then anyway, they go on to say package size bore no relation to body shape, weight, or age. Reports have previously suggested big hands or feet mean larger willies. Dr. Hiroshi Aikigayo said the study, reported in the journal Basic and Clinical Andrology, is the first to show the link. Right. Judy Murray has revealed fans played backhanded compliments to her tennis ace son, getting tattoos of him on their bombs. Right. I mean, NHS fat ops plea for hundreds of diabetic kids. Fat children should be given NHS weight loss ops to reverse their diabetes, a surgeon claims. Okay. More on the Barrymore story on page 5. Barrymore, justice at last. Stuart's dad, I never gave up. Cops have sent a file to the CPS. Gig Vaxxer Go, pleads Harry, is their headline on Prince Harry at the vaccine concert. On page 9, Gaza, I nearly fell to death out of helicopter. Paul Gascoigne last night revealed he cheated death when a helicopter door burst open and he wasn't wearing a seatbelt. I mean, they could have come up with a better headline for that. There's a really dubious story about Madeleine McCann, 14 years on from kidnap. Maddie Hope. McCann's vow, we will never give up. Moving on, Cross the Line is their coverage of the Man United pitch protest. United Yob snorts white line powder off stolen club corner flag. Is the claim. Adrian Charles says fans kicking off could be more than a match for the money men, and writes about Billie Eilish deciding to dress in kind of a different outfit in a basque and stockings in Vogue. Bit weird, Adrian Charles writing about that, to be honest. And he's not happy with Line of Duty. Starting fan go, why wouldn't you wear a seatbelt on a fucking helicopter? I know, exactly. Conrad Wolfie, Madeleine McCann is more dead than a very dead person. Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, more fat phobia in the paper, of course. Mercutio UK, going to stick a Cyrano de Bergerac nose on when I go out on the bull. Yeah, that's the new answer. Telecop only told his wife H secret. This is Nigel Boyle, again, who played Buckles in Line of Duty. He didn't tell anyone but his wife. Beeb tells Jed, do your duty. BBC Chiefs want Line of Duty. Writer Jed Mercurio to come up with the 7th season of the TV sensation. I mean, it's not clear. Charlotte Moore, the commissioning boss there, said, I'm looking at what we do next. Mark Canosis, yes, that Billie Eilish shoot was really cool, but neither Adrian Charles nor you should be talking about it. Yeah, exactly. It's just weird. It's weird. She's good on her. She has every right to choose how she presents herself. Bit weird for men who are many, many years older than her commenting on them. Industrial Pet, not enjoying Billie being commented on when she's openly spoken about the way she usually dresses being to stop people commenting her body in exactly the way they are now. Exactly. Chronotherm. Read Billie Eilish. I had a horrible realization we will one day read headlines about how sexy Princess Charlotte is now. Yeah, it was already weird enough they had pictures of a 6-year-old all over the papers yesterday. Mercutio UK, anyone over 30 having an opinion on Billie Eilish shoot needs a hard drive check. Yeah. My only opinion is she's got every right to present herself however she wants. Right, Leanne Pinnock of Little Mix says, racism has made me feel lost and invisible in Little Mix. It felt like it ruined a lot. It should have been the best time of my life. How hurtful bigotry has blighted her success. Well, that's really sad and just a horrible indictment on Britain, Britain and the world in general. But shame she's talking about it in The Sun. On page 19, on May the 4th, may the North be with you. Star Wars in Blackpool. Filming for a Star Wars series is starting in a location far, far away from the exotic. 3 miles up the coast from Blackpool. Disney production crews have been seen setting up at the North Promenade in Thornton Cleveleys, Lancashire. And the Beachfront Cove Cafe has been turned into part of the set for Andor, a 12-part prequel to the film Rogue One. Fucking hell. Prequels upon prequels, mate. No more Star Wars, yeah. On page 21, beauty spot miracle. Tourist plummets 115 foot off cliff into just 4 foot of water and survived. It's sheer luck. Right. Pictures of dogs in high winds are pretty funny. No vid cash-in. Celebrity site still touts sleazy stars messages. This is the Sun have gone on to Cameo, found there are clips on there made by him, and gone, they're still available to get. Yeah, he chose to upload them there. PCSO murder, locals told to carry phones. Right, okay. Lucy Donlan, who was on Love Island's worn a bikini. The Sun does a whole page of other shows that actors from Line of Duty have been in. Yeah, okay, fine. Steve Davis says he's really into watching videos of people soldering stuff. He likes to watch those on YouTube. Steve63, who also performs in electronic music band The Utopia Strong, who are good, says, I've been watching a lot of documentaries about synthesizers. It led me down the slippery slope to watching people who make synthesizers, 2-hour-long soldering videos. Okay, so it's not 2-hour-long soldering videos, 2-hour-long videos of people making synthesizers. Entirely different. Conrad Wolfie, who doesn't carry a phone these days? Yeah, I know, exactly. My 3-way wedding to the Tiger King was fake. Now I find real love with a woman, says John Finley. Yeah, well, also, it's not legal to marry to marry. Polygamous marriage isn't legal. In the TV recommendations, All That Glitters, BBC Two, 8 PM. I'll be watching that because Child in the Room enjoys it. Actually, I do too. The judges are awful, but like the challenges are quite good. The Moneymaker, Channel 4, 9 PM. Dragon's Den meets Kitchen Nightmares in this new series. US entrepreneur Eric Collins helps failing British businesses. Oh, fuck. I don't care for that. The Syndicate is back on BBC One at 9 PM. And The Violence Paradox, as we've mentioned, with Jeffrey Epstein friend Steven Pinker. In Fab Daily, tragedy that turned my mum into a hoarder by A Place in the Sun's Jasmine Harmon. Right.
Your mum's a hoarder.
Is Emily's baby diary the most braggy ever? From her perfect bump to post-birth body, we ask. Okay, so this is Emily Ratajkowski. This is just an excuse for them to print these pictures of her semi-nude. So, for the pregnancy fetishists in the Sun readership, a bumper day. The 50. They're trying to sell you an exclusive collection of 5 summer polos. Ugly. In the letters, Sandra Queen of Harlow writes, the disgraceful scenes of violent protests from Old Trafford on Sunday will have sickened genuine football fans. I am all for ousting the money-grabbing businessmen owners in favour of people who actually love and understand the game, but for all the moral high ground the Man United protesters held was lost the second a bottle, can or flare was thrown at police. Right. Alright, Sandra, whatever. Loads of letters about Line of Duty and stuff. They're trying to sell you 20 Dahlia Figaro mix plants. A thing about how you should drink more cranberry so you don't piss yourself. a biomag therapy bracelet. There's no science to back those up. And on the back page, sport, enough! Fans tell Glazers we want answers. Prem FA act to kill off future European Super League move. Comrade Wolfie, protests were the only good thing United fans have done for years. Agreed. Mark, am I remembering right that Emily is a comrade? I believe so. Red Tick Seed, watching other people make things. Haha, yes. Yes, haha, yes. Me making things. Well, this sucks. What the fuck? Guybrush tweeted, used to be a YouTube channel of some old French lady who still made vacuum tube shit, and it ruled. I'm into that. Chronotherm, how did letters condemning the protesters end up in the paper owned by the principal rights holder of the EPL? Curious that, isn't it? Anyway, that was the Sun. Give me your scores for the Sun as we move on to the Times. The front page of the Times, at the top of the page, at 16-year age gap, can the relationship really last? Yeah, probably, I don't know. And forget the 5-2 diet, think 3-2. What? No coins yet, I'm afraid. Zoe brings bacon. Scores for the Times, -95, good windy dog content, correct, Mark. Comrade Wolfie, head in hands out of 10, and a -250 from Chronotherm. I'm going to give the Sun a -69. Hey, Young Frag. Yes, we are talking about the Murdoch Propaganda Network. Indeed, we are. We review the papers on this channel most days. Well, every day. 5 days a week is the yes. -42 trillion, says Red Tick Seed, and a bad out of 10 from Industrial Pet. Right, so yeah, looking at the front page of the Times, moving down from the feature promo panel, the main story, reopening of holiday hotspots weeks away. Same story that the Telegraph thought it had as an exclusive. Elsewhere on the page, new scan finds heart disease in 20 minutes. It's based on an NHS press release. And at the bottom of the page, shield young pupils. There's a suggestion from an academic that younger secondary school pupils should be kept in bubbles away from older children to shield them from intimidation and stress. I don't think that's necessarily a bad idea. Certainly, it's kind of crazy to have sixth formers and year sevens pacing the same corridors at the same time. Comrade Wolfie, oh look, it's noted friend of Jeffrey Epstein, Bill Gates getting a divorce. Yeah, main picture is the Bill and Melinda Gates divorce. If you're someone who sort of has a overly positive view of the Gates Foundation, I suggest looking a bit more deeply into it.
It's not a subtweet.
No, it's not. Highlight game, 10 out of 10. Yeah, thank you, Young Frag. On my Twitter, at Broken Bottle Boy, I break down the newspaper front pages every morning. So blue is promos or page furniture. Yellow is from a briefing. Green is largely factual. Pink is a sort of tabloid hyperbole, and orange is opinion or spin. Mark notices, this is my criticism of the move from 3-tier to 2-tier school system that I gave to the school newspaper when I was about 11. Yeah, I mean, there's a strong argument for middle school that to put high schools where you have such a large age range, the year 7s get trampled. Right, moving inside the paper. Grand Design's disaster cost me £6 million and my marriage. After 10 years work, an amateur developer is in huge debt and it isn't over yet. His dream house on a cliff remains a desolate looking ruin 10 years and millions of pounds after the project began. It was supposed to resemble a gleaming lighthouse. I shouldn't laugh, but I will laugh. On page 4, bubbles protect youngest pupils from secondary school bullying. Right, this is what we were just talking about. Younger secondary school pupils should be kept in bubbles away from older children to shield them from intimidation, bad behaviour and stress, as an education academic has suggested. Segregating pupils into year groups during the pandemic had an unexpected benefit for those in year 7, and a permanent change could be seriously considered for this age group. Research led by Sandra Leighton-Gray, Associate Professor of Education at University College London's Institute of Education, suggests. Researchers found that some school children starting secondary school last year had flourished because they were shielded from older pupils and did not have to move around school for lessons. In the report Moving Up, shared with the Times, Leighton Gray said that the pandemic had provided an opportunity to reform education at considerable pace and that lessons could be learnt from the issues it has exposed. Schools are already more aware than they were decades ago of the impact of moving from primary to secondary, and they try to forge links with children before they start. Many school visits and link-up sessions, however, had to be cancelled last summer. The report said, we see two primary areas of consideration for future education policy and practice, moving towards a distinct Year 7 phase in secondary school and investing nationally in education, technology, training, hardware and infrastructure. Many English secondary schools are extremely large by European standards, frequently with well over 1,000 pupils. This means very young pupils are thrown together with a large number of older pupils immediately upon arrival in September. I think that's very sensible.
Yeah, agreed.
That headline makes you think about COVID. It's clickbait. Yeah, agreed. Mark noticed. To be fair, my middle school's pretty shit. Headmaster got done for selling off the carpets. You've got a very rich story to tell, Mark noticed. On page 5, British killer suspected of sex attacks in Australia. One of Britain's most notorious sex killers. Sex killer. Such a tabloid framing. Could be linked to unsolved cases in Australia, an expert said yesterday. Mark Dixie was jailed for life in 2008 for stabbing to death Sally Ann Bowman, an 18-year-old model, as she walked up the driveway of her home in Croydon, South London in 2005. Dixie, who worked as a pub cook, was convicted in 2017 of further attacks. In 1986, when he was 16, he raped a woman, tied her up in a car and set it on fire. In 2002, he bludgeoned a woman and threatened to kill her. It is also emerged that Dixie was guilty of 3 sex attacks in Fuengirola, southern Spain in 2003, for which a Dutch man spent 12 years in jail being wrongly convicted. Dixie, 50, a father of 3, had lived around the world using various aliases, including Mark McDonald, Shane Turner, Mark Down, and Mark James. An investigation by the West Australian newspaper reported yesterday that Dixie was questioned by police over an attack on a woman in Victoria Park, Perth in 1997, but was not charged. He has been linked with other attacks. Oh, a TES story on the head who stole the carpets. Thanks for that, Mark. Police call for vigilance in woodland near murder. I think you should always be vigilant when you're in woodland, frankly. I'm not a townie. I grew up in the countryside. Or in a town on the edge of countryside. Here is some pictures of Boris Johnson massively ignoring social distancing and just being a knob. You're no better than me, cleaner told bank boss in her parting shot. Yeah, correct. A cleaner who's subjected to a dressing down by her boss at HSBC has gone viral with a note she wrote on her last day telling other staff, be kind, because you're all no better than the cleaner. Julie Cousins, 64, who cleaned bank branches for 35 years, left a handwritten note for a manager at HSBC whose aggressive and cruel words prompted her to quit. Her son, Joe Cousins, posted a letter that she wrote to her awful manager on social media when she walked out of her job. Cleaner told her manager in the message that she was leaving after the way you dressed me down in the office. She went on to criticise her boss for being aggressive and cruel, adding, but that's a reflection on your character, not mine. Yeah, well, good on her. Good on her. Meanwhile, they give much less space to the story of a black cleaner who's been awarded more than £6,000 because she felt forced to quit her job at Catholic school when a colleague joked that she practised voodoo. Also, minimised as ever by the Times. Minimised. This is racialised harassment. Anne-Marie Jenkins Hurrell, who is of West Indian origin, told a tribunal that she... Also, that's weird as well. West Indian origin. Like, just the way they phrase it. Like, it's just in implication that she doesn't... I don't know. It's racially loaded. Told a tribunal that she was subjected to a degrading and offensive remark by the caretaker at Campion School in East London. The employment tribunal at the East London Tribunal Centre was told that colleagues at the boys' secondary school told the cleaner they were scared of her, with on having said, what are you going to do, work your voodoo? Jenkins Hurrell said that when she complained to school officials, her grievance was dismissed and she resigned. The tribunal awarded her £6,281 compensation after ruling she was a victim of constructive dismissal. That's the focus. She was constructively dismissed, not this fucking voodoo shit. Pages 8 and 9. Europe prepares to take tourists who are packing 2 vaccines. Holiday firm boss hails great progress. Unsatisfied with bumbling villain, Line of Duty takes aim at number 10. Times is going to make a big deal of that and make it a problem with the BBC thing. Rub sunscreen on your cat during hot weather, owners told. Cat owners are being urged to keep them indoors and apply sunscreen during the hottest days of the year after a cat had the tips of her ears removed. Smurf was picked up on the streets of Belfast last summer by Cat's Protection. Believed to have been in a car crash, she had taken to a vet who removed her right eye and ear tip, which had been badly damaged in the sun and showed signs of cancer. Her new owner, Kate Large, 49, said she wasn't in Lisbon or Madrid. She was outside Northern Ireland for less than a year with the amount of sun we get in Ireland, and this was the damage it caused. Yeah, okay, well, I guess most cats don't have ears that are as exposed as that.
Is it ginger?
It's a white cat.
A white? Oh, yeah, well then.
Yeah, there you go.
I thought it was going to be ginger, like all us young gingers from Northern Ireland who just burn.
So, there's a story here about rings that are made so that they contain breast milk. This came up in an episode of All That Glitters, the jewelry program we were talking about last week. Seems cool. Like, customers send jewelers vials of their breast milk in the post, and then typically the liquid is turned into a paste, then set aside to dry and crystallize before being ground into a powder. It's then cured in resin to create pearls, which can be set in the jewelry. Like, this jewelry is fucking amazing. Yeah, and also imagine trying to put sunscreen on a cat. Like, spray it on there, like, you know. Can we go into Ozpol? Our government is literally turning into an oligarchy. It totally is. Yes. Comrade Wolfie. Norwich is 100% rural. There's no urban centre in Norfolk other than Cromer. No. Imagine trying to put sunscreen on a cat. Yeah, I don't want breast milk jewelry. Sorry. Yeah, but you don't have to. This is people who want it. I mean, look, the jewelry is... That is beautiful jewelry. I mean, whatever, you know? Visions of the monarch propping up a bar in an East Anglian local might be seen as evidence that you've had few too many. But while she may not be pulling the pints herself, the Queen has, however, launched her own beer, brewed with plants grown on the royal estate in Norfolk. Sandringham Bitter is now on the shelves at the property's gift shop. Oh, fuck off. The University of Liverpool has dropped the name Gladstone Hall after the Prime Minister William Gladstone, whose family benefited from slavery, and has renamed it in honour of an anti-racism activist. Good. It's now going to be named after Dorothy Kuya, a Liverpool-born anti-racism campaigner and communist activist. Notice that they mention that. That's what there's times just like, oh, commies taking over. Anti-racism activist. Good. Of course, they find a bumptious old bastard to object to it. Dr. David Jeffrey, a lecturer in British politics at the University of Liverpool, has said that Gladstone Hall was named after one of our greatest prime ministers who had worked for the abolition of slavery and never owned slaves himself. He told the Times this there is a sense that Gladstone is not the right figure to go after. There is the idea that he had some fairly mainstream views in his youth, but his political journey over those 60 years led him to a very progressive place. Announcing the name change, a spokesman for the student union said, students have been at the heart of this campaign. I want to personally thank all previous students and student officers for working so hard on this. I think it's fine, isn't it? Shouldn't we have more buildings that are named after black British people? Is that not a problem? I think that's excellent. Kuya, who was born in 1932, was Merseyside's first community relations officer before moving to London to be head of race equality for Haringey Council. After returning to Liverpool, she was involved in setting up the International Slavery Museum. Fantastic. Just like, oh no, Gladstone's gone. No one will ever think of Gladstone again, now that this student accommodation is not named after him. Fucking hell. A really insensitive headline from the Times here. Woman died after having budget bum lift in Brazil clinic. I mean, that is a real... This is a person with a family and... Does this person have children? I don't know, but this person with a family and she was persuaded into having this plastic surgery and she got an infection and she died, and now she's being made into a kind of like sniggering behind their hand human interest story in the Times. Comrade Wolfie, who is Gladstone? Now a hall at the uni I didn't go to. I have no idea whom they would have been. Yeah. Dithering on e-scooter law puts lives in danger. Ministers have been warned. Clothing rental service is chasing the sharp, smart money. Suit and tuxedo retailer Moss Bros has started a monthly subscription service for renting outfits. Fine. Yeah, I fucking hate e-scooters. William Hague writes, for the UK to survive, it needs a new identity. This week's elections will highlight the disunity of the United Kingdom and the urgent task of reinvigorating the nation. Yeah, and you've got the ideas to do it, have you, lad? Melanie Phillips, who, of course, is Anders Breivik's favourite columnist, writes, when sex with a prostitute is a human right, a judge has shown compassion in permitting an autistic man to have contact with sex workers. And she said, years ago, I got to know a prostitute in the Midlands. She was trying to force a boneheaded police force to confront the reality of the crack cocaine trade, a scourge with which her activities brought her into the contact, and on which I was reporting at the time. What shocked me, however, was their insistence that in her chosen line of work, she was in no sense a victim, and that sexual services she provided should attract no disapproval. This will make Julie Bindel very angry. When I murmured about pimps, exploitation, public squalor, and the degradation of women, she smiled tolerantly. She was sent any potential pimp packing. Her services were private and advertised through word of mouth, and she didn't consider herself remotely degraded. This uncomfortably shook up the pattern formed in my mental kaleidoscope. I thought about this woman last week after a significant ruling was handed down in the Court of Protection, which makes decisions concerning people who lack mental capacity. In that ruling, Mr. Justice Hayden said it would be lawful for carers to arrange for a 27-year-old autistic man to use the services of a prostitute. Why did she... surely the Times' style guides should be sex worker, but there you go. This produced a tirade by the feminist campaigner. Oh, Melanie Phillips is battling Julie Bindel. This is like the Iran-Iraq war. Against sexual violence. Julie Bindel. On the Spectator website, she claimed that the ruling would further destigmatise playing for sex and would set back the campaign to abolish commercial sexual exploitation. She dismissed the argument that disabled people had a right to sex. Prostitution, she wrote, is not some kind of social service like Meals on Wheels. Bindel's opposition to prostitution is powerful and compelling, is it? However, she failed to accept the judge's ruling, rightly put it uppermost the interests of a disadvantaged individual. The man in this case, known as C, suffers from Klinefelter syndrome, a genetic disorder in which a male born with an additional X chromosome. He is also on the autistic spectrum. He lives in a house with two other people and their carers. He enjoys sports, music, and history. He also wants to have sex. However, he believes his prospects of finding a girlfriend are very limited. C's doctors and his carers agree he has the capacity both to have sex and to decide to have contact with a prostitute. Arrangements could be made for a charity that provides services by sex workers who are vetted for people with disabilities. Court heard from legal experts that such services were commonly requested by young male clients with a brain injury and that they prove beneficial, particularly where difficult behaviour has been previously exhibited. I didn't know about this, and nor, it seems, did the judge prior to this case, so the mental kaleidoscope is shaken in a different pattern again. The Justice Secretary, Robert Buckland, is appealing against the ruling. He argued that allowing C's carers to enable him to use such services would go beyond the Sexual Offences Act 2003 and thus encroach upon the role of Parliament. In response, the judge said that the relevant section of the Act was designed to prevent a vulnerable person being exploited in a situation that would constitute a serious breach of trust. He said that it was emphatically not the case here. He also pointed out that the Justice Secretary's argument was muddled, drawing upon the Crown Prosecution Service's guidance on the exploitation of prostitutes. It held that prostitution and the activities which surround it are undesirable and contrary to public policy. But as the judge observed, Parliament has chosen nonetheless not to criminalise prostitution. This has long been an issue of controversy. Jump through, she talks about stuff from the 19th century. Since prostitution remains legal, ruled the judge, preventing C from making use of it would therefore be discriminatory. Blanket disapproval can result in unfairness or intolerance. One can disapprove heartily of prostitution, and of course it's entirely reasonable to advocate for more restrictions to it, but it's quite different from preventing an individual from having a private sex life of which one may disapprove. This is one of these cases, right, where it's like the worst person in the world has made a good point. Like, it's very disturbing when Melanie Phillips is reasonable. Young Frag says, I'm all on board with setting up progressive institutions as long as they aren't subsidised. They generally don't serve a function except as champagne socialists. The working class doesn't care about your wacky institution. Guy Bush Tweetwood, yes, let them fight. Mark Canose says, fuck her up, Mel. Bindle Phillips, whoever loses, we win. Can they both lose somehow? Yeah, the Philo-Semitic book is Julie Burchill, yeah. Anyway, one of these cases where, like, I can't actually disagree with Mel Phillips broadly there, though obviously the insistence on using the word prostitute and the insistence on, you know, some semi-Victorian views in there is a balancing thing. Giles Corrin is really awful today, but I don't want to go through why he's really awful here. If you want to read why, go to brokenbottleboy.substack.com and read today's newsletter, which is about a columnist, a cat, and having contempt for your readers. The main story of the Times too is we have a 16-year age gap. Can our relationship last? You read that? What was that about?
It was about them having a 16-year age gap and whether or not the relationship will last.
Is that it? Is that literally it?
There was lots of the woman saying, "Oh, maybe it will, maybe it won't. Who knows?"
Yeah.
As almost as if there are other factors that feed into a relationship.
Yeah. Comrade Wolfie says he's going to clip me saying I agree with Melanie Phillips so I get cancelled. Yu-Gi-Oh! Didn't need that qualifier today. What qualifier? PayPal froze the funds of sex workers a couple of years ago, in my country at least. It literally ran off with money. Yeah, these institutions, payment institutions, PayPal has been awful for stuff like that. And it mostly comes from American legislation that then cascades down and causes problems. Hugo Rifkin says, what does it take for a politician to resign? I don't know. Pressure? A press that actually holds them to account. Oh, Giles Corrin is awful today. Yeah, Giles Corrin is particularly awful today. Where he renders what he believes to be a Romanian accent by removing the definite articles from the speech of a Romanian man that he claims helped him. In the birthdays, Kate Garraway is 54. Julian Barrett, Mighty Boosh and other things, 53. Manuel Benitez, El Cordobes, the Matador. Best paid Matador of his era is 85. Not happy birthday to him. Fuck bullfighters. Ravi Bopara, the cricketer for Essex and England, is 36. Alison Britton, the ceramic artist, is 73. Cesc Fabregas is 34. Fernandinho, Brazilian footballer, captain of Manchester City, is 36. Rebecca Fraser, the writer, is 64. Paul Gibbons, the co-founder of Auto Trader, is 74. Charlotte Green, radio presenter, Classic FM, and former announcer on BBC Radio 4, is 65. Dr. Caroline Harper, chief executive of Sight Savers International, is 61. Jackie Jackson, the musician from the Jackson 5, is 70. Richard Jenkins, the actor, is 74. Thomas Kinsella, the poet, is 93. Claude Littner, the businessman and aide to Lord Sugar on The Apprentice, is 72. Sir Anthony McCoy, 20 times champion jump jockey, 47. Rory McIlroy, the golfer, 32. Martin Moxon, the cricketer for England until 1989 and director of cricket for Yorkshire County Cricket Club, is 61. Chris Packham, the naturalist, writer and broadcaster, is 60. Betsy Rawls, golfer, winner of 8 major championships, is 93. Marissa Robles, the harpist, 84. Kate Saunders, the writer, is 61. Dame Caroline Spellman, former Conservative MP, is 63. Graham Swift, the author of Last Orders, Mothering Sunday, etc., is 72. Gillian Tyndall, the writer and historian, known for the book City of Gold, Biography of Bombay, and The Pulse Glass and the Beat of Other Hearts, 2019, is 83. Randy Travis, country singer, known for Forever and Ever, Amen, is 62. And John Watson, the racing driver, Formula One racer till 1985, and then commentator, is 75. On this day, in 1932, the Chicago mobster Al Capone began a prison sentence for tax evasion, first in Atlanta and then at Alcatraz. He was released in November 1939 and died on January 25th, 1947, aged 48, suffering from syphilis. Happy birthday, Chris Packham, but please stop palling about with Malthusians. I agree with you, Mark. Yuan says, is the birthday list always the same length, or is it literally a space filler when they don't know what else to put in there? It's in this section they call the Universal Daily Reporter, and it's usually roughly that kind of length. And the last word in that column today goes to Robert Falcon Scott, polar explorer, in his last letter to his wife about their son Peter, who went on to become a pioneering conservationist and wildlife artist. He said, "Make the boy interested in natural history if you can. It is better than games." Comrade Wolfie, Romanians don't talk like that. I literally fucking live in Romania. Yeah, I know, it's just pathetic. It's pathetic. And the thing is, as well, it's a thing where he's going, yeah, but I was just saying about the guy being nice to me. Yeah, he was nice to you, but then you had to go and render his speech in the newspaper in a fucking racist manner. Right, elsewhere in this paper, we've got, in the world news, Salvini daren't take on social media megastars who sneer at his politics. Salvini's a piece of shit. Nazi doctor deserves peace in grave. Does he? Austria, David Crossland writes from Berlin. The small war cemetery at Lend near Salzburg is like many others across Austria. Rows of graves marked by military crosses surrounded by carefully tended lawns. One grave, however, is different. It contains the remains of the most senior doctor at Auschwitz, who oversaw some of the vilest crimes of the Second World War and killed himself while in Allied hands. It is marked with a name and nothing else. Franz von Bodman. Now, the International Auschwitz Committee, IAC, has called on the Austrian government to let visitors to the site know that they are looking at by marking the SS Obersturmführer's grave with a notice detailing his many atrocities. Bodman's crimes are concealed, Christopher Hudner, vice president of the IAC, said. An SS perpetrator is presented to future generations as an honourable member of society. Bodman also held a senior position at 4 other camps. At Neuengamme in Germany, he is said to have gassed Soviet prisoners of war. The grave attracted little attention until last year when the German left-wing party Die Linke called on Berlin to cease public funding of grave maintenance for concentration camp commanders and other Nazi criminals. Seems reasonable to me. Local historians have proposed adding an information board to Bodman's grave, listing his crimes on a plexiglass covering over the grave. However, Michaela Hofsaul, the mayor of Lend, said she feared that might make the grave a pilgrimage site for the far right. She had been told anyway by the Australian Interior Ministry that she did not have the authority to make any changes to the grave. The ministry said that everyone had the right to peace after death. Oh, fuck off! That's bullshit. The IAC complained in March that Edward Wirth's wartime boss of Auschwitz, Dr. Joseph Mengele, was still honoured on a war memorial in his hometown of Gerolzhausen, Bavaria, where his name appears among many others under the inscription "In memory of our fallen and missing brothers." Wirth committed suicide in September 1945 at a British internment camp, knowing that he would be handed over to Poland as a war criminal, and the memorial was a historical lie that horrifies and angers Auschwitz survivors, the IAC said. It is also a sad testimony to the fact that people in certain places in Germany still having difficulty coming to terms with the murderous past of their communities. No peace for Nazis, not ever. Agree with you. Guybrush tweet, good. Comrade Wolfie, Nazis deserving peace. No, they did not. What an absolute vile prick. Throw his remains in the sea. The list of Austrian gravestones I want to desecrate is getting longer, says Mark Kenosis. Nice summer break for you there, Mark. And in the sport, United fans plan further Glazer attacks. Pep not buying mind games on Mbappe injury. And Selby's triumph, 4th world title in front of capacity crowd at Crucible. That is the Times. Give me your scores. For me, it's a -88. And finally, we are going to do the Daily Mail.
The Daily Hate Mail.
So, front page of the Daily Mail. They used the top third of the paper to boast about their campaign to create a COVID memorial in St. Paul's. Mark Kenosis, -98 because the grave story was well reported on the Times. 0 out of 10 from Comrade Wolfie for the Times. Main story in the Times today, why wait 7 more weeks? They're trying to push for COVID restrictions to be released earlier. 0 out of 10 for the Times from Industrial Pet. Yuan says, Times pretty fishy today, believe it or not. And of course, the other story in front of the Daily Mail is 93 billion divorce, Bill and Melinda Gates to split after 27 years.
We bought garlic.
We did buy garlic. I would have thought you'd have put it in the dry goods cupboard. I think it's in the. I think it's in the pantry. It's official. Smart motorways are deadlier than regular roads. I think we've known that for a while. On page 5, the Bill and Melinda Gates thing. We no longer believe we can grow together. Ever since the Gwyneth Paltrow and Chris Martin thing, these divorce things have been. The garlic has been stolen. Where is the garlic? People are all asking where it is now. Have you found it?
I find a sugar puree. No, I can't find it. I don't know where it's gone. I swore we had bought some.
We did. Bear with me, callers.
No, it's fine. Don't worry. I put some puree.
Yeah, but now I want to know.
Maybe it's tucked in your bag still.
It's not in my bag.
Go and talk to your people.
Well, now we're
I will look for the garlic.
we're all concerned about.
They're waiting for your
I bet
bag.
it's in your bag. The garlic situation is, just garlic bulbs, one after the other. Love it. Mick Wright in The Allium Mysteries. Yeah. All right, so moving on. If it's in your bag, I'm going to laugh so much.
Yeah, well, I'm going to make sure it goes straight in my bag.
They report a lot on people going out drinking even though it was pissing with rain. 2 whole pages on their campaign. They attack Martin Compson for occasionally being in America, and somehow that means he's not allowed to be pro-independence in Scotland. On page 15, a really horrible story about Nadia Comaneci, who was starved, slapped, and otherwise abused by her Olympic coach. I don't think it's a news story. I've spent the garlic budget on coins, that's right.
It's not in my bag. I think we've been stuffed in the garlic. We must have forgot to.
No, I think it was out on the side somewhere earlier. I think it's in there somewhere. Anyway. Little John says nicking burglars not in the line of duty, Gov. Basically, I'm going to read one horrible paragraph from the Little John column just to as evidence of my belief that Richard Littlejohn has actually years ago been replaced by a basic AI fed on previous bigotry that he published, right? Because this is just one paragraph. Burglary comes a long way down the...
Put the garlic in the drawer of the cooker.
Well, that could be you.
It wasn't me! I didn't put anything in there. Sorry, go on with your bullshit.
What?
You also put the stock cubes in there too. You don't live in there.
The stock cubes can go in there.
They don't live there. They live in the herb drawer.
The garlic has been found. Did you say continue with your bullshit? This is not what we say about the show.
No, I meant the garlic bullshit.
And you're a regular guest on the show. Anyway, so here's this paragraph from me. Burglary comes a long way down the list behind taking the knee in supplication to the Black Lives Matter mob, painting their nails in rainbow colours to show solidarity with the trans lobby, flying the LGBT QWERTY plus flag above HQ, skateboarding with climate change extremists, and making fatuous self-serving statements on the steps of Scotland Yard about the murder of George Floyd thousands of miles away in another country. That could have been written by a fucking Markov chain. Comrade Wolfie, stock cubes in the bread drawer is giving in to the woke Islington elite. Yeah. Cameron's £270 million China plan flops. David Cameron has all but abandoned his plan for a £720 million UK-China investment fund. Guybrush Threepwood, can we confirm this was the lost garlic and not a hastily purchased to cover the missing garlic? I'm pretty sure it was the garlic purchased this morning at Morrison's. All those supermarkets are available. Yeah. In this era of binge-watch TV, magic moments that bring the nation to a standstill are more special than ever. Christopher Stevens writes about the 10 best endings. The ones that he said are rubbish, Game of Thrones, true, Blackadder, good. Rubbish, Game of Thrones, The Undoing, House of Cards, and Lost. But ones that are good, Blackadder, Breaking Bad, and The Sopranos.
Legit.
Adrian Edmondson managed to get himself stuck outside his flat while cleaning the windows. And, of course, people took pictures of that. And the headline, Young One clung on. Apparently, diet soft drinks no better for us than sugary pop. We know that. Everybody's known that a long time. You don't drink them because they're good for you. Continuing the celebration of 125 cursed years of the Daily Mail. Today they write those magnificent men and their news machine. 125 years ago today, a brand new paper became an instant hit, putting women, scoops, campaigns and eye-catching stunts first. And also the black shirt. Now read the thrilling account of how two brothers helped your Daily Mail take flight. So they're writing about the Harmsworth brothers there. No Battlestar Galactica on that list. Terrible list. Agreed about that missing. Lily, I won't bear all on West yet. She was asked by the Observer to talk about the fact that, you know, she's pictured together with Dominic West and a suggestion of an affair, but no proof of one. And she told the Observer, I'm not really willing to talk about that. There is a lot to say, but not now, I'm afraid. And the Daily Mail has managed to turn that into another story. Ridiculous fucking 2-page feature about how Kate, Duchess of Cambridge, gets really good value out of her clothes at price per year. But no, it's not price per year. It should be price per wear. If she's only worn this jacket twice, it's a lot more expensive per wear. Anyway, fucking hell. Who gives a shit? Also, she wears the blandest fucking clothes. On this day, May 4th, 2021, on this day, in May 4th, 1951, the Daily Mail wrote, the Festival of Britain captured London when the lights went up last night. Tens of thousands of sightseekers jammed the West End, the Embankment, and the Thames bridges. They linked arms, they cheered, they sang, and they danced in a surge of spontaneous gaiety and happiness. On this day, May 4th, 1979, the Daily Mail wrote, Margaret Thatcher and the people of Great Britain have made history. Early today, she was racing towards number 10 Downing Street as the country's first woman Prime Minister. For Labour, it was a night of disaster. One marginal after another was knocked over by the Thatcher bandwagon. Happy birthday to Catherine Jackson, 91. The mother of 10 is the matriarch of the Jackson family and designed their early stage outfits. Also to Rory McIlroy, as we've already mentioned, 32. Born on this day in 1958, Keith Haring, the US artist, had several run-ins with the police over large graffiti installations made with chalk on New York's subway. His fans included Andy Warhol and Madonna, who once said, I have a leather jacket that Keith Haring painted on that I would never give up. His collection of art was auctioned in the US for $3.3 million last year to raise funds for charities. Haring died of AIDS, aged just 31. Also born on this day, 1929, Audrey Hepburn, Brussels-born actress, won an Oscar for Roman Holiday and starred in Breakfast Activities. Director Billy Wilder said of her, you looked around and suddenly there was this dazzling creature looking like a wild-eyed doe. Everyone on the set was in love with her within 5 minutes. Growing up in the Netherlands in World War II, her family hid a stranded British paratrooper in their cellar. On this day, May 4th, 1896, the Daily Mail was first published. It became the first UK newspaper to sell more than 1 million copies. And in 1984, actress Diana Dawes, Britain's answer to Marilyn Monroe, died aged 52. Joke of the day, did you hear about the accountant who was afraid of negative numbers? She would stop at nothing to avoid them. Love Haring, hate the Mail, simple as. Honk if Thatcher's dead. Honk, honk, honk. Honks all the way down in the chat today. Thatcher famously won Hartlepool in 2019. Jagger finds inspiration as he queues for the jab, writes Stephen Shakespeare. In good health. Of these two, how can the woman on the left be more at risk of type 2 diabetes? Because she's over her personal fat threshold. No, that's not your BMI. Oh, another thing to worry about. Free in the Saturday Daily Mail, they're promising you a lose up to a stone for summer with Weight Watchers guide. Weight Watchers can go fuck itself. Get your teeth into the good floss guide. No, thank you. Today's replica of previous stories is the Daily Mail's story about the death of Queen Victoria. Britain plunged into shock and grief as Victoria passes away at Osborne House. She was fucking old. Trying to sell you funeral plans. trying to sell you equity release as ever. They're warning you of, if you live in a bungalow, beware, because you might have bungalow leg, where a home with no stairs can give you bungalow leg. It may sound like a tall story, but experts say stairs provide crucial exercise that may slow the aging process. Fucking hell. Stunning therapy lands knockout blow to cancer is their claim. The Mail takes credit for the campaign against mesh implants. You live in a bungalow, Mark. I grew up in a bungalow. I'm surprised I'm not crippled with bungalow leg.
I mean, to be fair, you've got dodgy knees and ankle. That could be bungalow leg.
That's genetic. It's nothing to do with bungalow leg.
Your parents live in a bungalow, of course it's genetic.
No, not that living in the bungalow was not genetic. Oh, my. They're trying to sell you these disgusting meals. Red tick seed. Holy shit, Queen Victoria died. When did that happen? F's in the chat for Mark Kenosis' bungalow leg. In the TV recommendations, all the ones that were recommended by the other papers, Christopher Stevens' TV reviews, he gave Beat the Chef 2 stars and Beat the Chasers 3 stars. In the cartoons today, Garfield and John are looking at the photo album, and John says, "Here I am taking swimming lessons as a kid. I was afraid of deep water." And Garfield says, "Is that a bathtub?" In Chloe & Co., Chloe and her friend are drinking and talking about men. And in Fred Bassett's owner is telling him that his friend, Fifi, is coming round tomorrow. So Fred Bassett is happy. It's a horny Fred Bassett column today, cartoon today, somewhat disturbing. And in the straight to the point letters from the Daily Mail readers, we have Lee Janogly, who writes, "Boris had better not spill any red wine on the new sofa." Fred Lee says, "If we paid the Prime Minister a proper salary, he wouldn't have to blag a few quid from friends. It's shameful that third-rate footballers get paid more in a week than the annual salary of our country's leader." One of these things is not like the other. Fuck off. John Evans says, "Keir Starmer obviously feels at home in John Lewis, while Labour voters shop in IKEA." What? Nick Dunning writes, "Would a Labour Prime Minister really want to live in the tattered remains of Carrie's makeover with added damage by Dylan?" No, I guess not. DR Ball writes, "With no thought for the security of the United Kingdom, the SNP pursues the dream of independence. Has there ever been a greater case for biting the hand that feeds you?" Oh, fuck off. Chris Patt of Worcester says, "Has Russell Brand named his narrowboat My Boaty Wote?" Oh, fucking hell. Gerard Rudge says, "If most of the 58 million compensation sub-postmasters received was swallowed up by their legal costs, why didn't the appeal court order the post office to pay for this?" And Keith Langley of Nottingham, I'm not going to do the Nottingham accent, but sorry to SK that someone from your neck of the woods is letting themselves down, writes, "The Smurfs have lodged a complaint of cultural misappropriation after Morris dancers painted their faces blue rather than black." Fuck all the way off. Today's poem is a really shit poem about Line of Duty, which ends with the lines, "Even after Ted is gone, the OCG has many arms and funds to carry on, but AC-12 will ever strive to weed out corruption, and Hastings' spirit will live on. Of that there is no doubt." There's a reason I normally ignore the poems. Today's recipe is puttanesca baked gnocchi. Fine, looks good. That sounds good. Coin alert.
No coins.
It's another ad for the Gold Sovereign, the 2021 Gold Sovereign, yours for just £319. Get a load of that coin. Coins. Amazing TV show tribute poem. Amazing. I tell you what, Johan, I didn't read the whole thing. It's much longer than that. They're still trying to sell you the G-Tech cordless lawnmower. Today, chino trousers on sale. These are in finest cotton and silk. I don't know what colour they purport to be, but there you go. They are flat-fronted for a trimmer silhouette, it says here. Alex Brummer predicts that there will be a bust in the economy. And in the sport, United fans stormed dressing room. Staff shocked by drunk supporter. Security review launched. CCTV shows stewards did not open gate. And Pep Guardiola has told his City team that they will be immortals if they guide City to its first Champions League final. Silk chinos, fucking hell. Fat fuck chinos, yeah. Right, that's the Daily Mail. A minus 125 in celebration of its cursed anniversary from me. Thank you as ever for joining me on the show. It has been a pleasure. We ran quite long today, but that's because we had 4 papers to handle. In the chat, I was the Broken Bottle Boy. You follow me on Twitter. Do, @Broken Bottle Boy. Guybrush Tweetgood and SK the Crusader were in the mod squad. Both worth your time, worth your follows. And certainly get involved and watch SK's streams, because they're great. In the chat, 2020, another TT viewer, Aiton, Carbot, 14, XYZ, Commander Root, Community for Small Streamers, Comrade Wolfie, Dark Sky, Dan Jones, Discord for Streamers, Yu-Gi-Oh!, Feet, Ged Station, Girly, Industrial Pet, Chronotherm, LJ Card, Mark Kenosis, the ever excellent Mark Kenosis, valued subscriber on Cusio UK, Red Tick Seed, Streamers Area, Studying Fangirl, Torms, V&K, Virgo Pros, the Fishmeister General Yuan, Young Frag, thanks for joining us for the first time, appreciate your contributions in the chat, and the excellent Zoe Brings Bacon. I will be back tomorrow at 1 p.m. with a very special magazine special, a historical magazine special. Studying Fangirl is doing a stream of Star Wars in Academia today at 5 GMT. Yes, brilliant. Cool. Get involved with that. Pepper's making them immortals. Is he a Persian emperor now? Asked Chronotherm. Let's say so. Mark Kenosis minus 100 dead. Queen Victoria's for the mail, minus coins out of 10 from Ged Station, minus chinos from Yu-Gi-Oh!, minus all the 69s from Red Tick Seed. Yuan declares that the Daily Mail was the fishiest today. Feet, I love Feet as a chaotic username. Yeah, cheers, everyone. And also, remember, of course, if you like the show and you want to support the show, it's really helpful if you can throw some coins into the newspaper fund. The address for that is paypal.me/Conquest of the Useless. And when you do, put in the comment what magazine or newspaper you want to see covered on the show. See you tomorrow.